Shooter Breeze topic number 2 says, he thinks sHitler was right. This came with a link that's going to take us to YouTube. Make sure you guys can see my screen. Yeah, so we're going to watch the video and then we'll discuss it.
Hitler may have been right. He talks about preparing for civil war. Now he hopes to establish a whites-only community right here. Eric Orwell has already made headlines with the whites-only community he's now building in Arkansas. Tonight, as part of his ongoing Confronting Hate investigation, our chief investigative reporter Phil Williams uncovers some exclusive new details about this controversial figure and what he has planned for the volunteer state. And Phil, I understand you had some tough questions for this man.
That's right. I had questions about his plans for that whites-only community, questions about his views on Adolf Hitler and the Holocaust, questions about his ties to the white nationalist Patriot Front and his talk of civil war, as well as questions about his upcoming appearance at a white nationalist conference right here in Middle Tennessee.
No Nazis, no KKK, no fascist USA!
We were there last year as anti-fascist protesters raised their voices in opposition to the annual gathering of white nationalists at Montgomery Bell State Park. The American Renaissance Conference is scheduled to return to the park in mid-November.
We have a community for white Americans who value their European ancestry.
Among the speakers is a far-right figure who's recently made headlines around the globe with his plan to create a whites-only community in northeastern Arkansas.
Of course, we're concerned about the ability of white Americans to have their own communities in the future, and I think this is a discussion that needs to happen.
Eric Orwell told me he wants to test federal fair housing laws, which is why he created a group called Return to the Land as a private membership association, in other words, a private club, with plans to create other whites-only communities.
Right now, there are a few hot spots that we're honing in on: Idaho, Tennessee, the Ozarks.
You say Tennessee?
Yeah, that's one of those hot spots.
And where in Tennessee are you looking at?
A few different locations, eastern Tennessee, central Tennessee. So I'm not going to give away specific zip codes or anything.
His website shows a map that includes the eastern part of Middle Tennessee and East Tennessee that make up Appalachia, which would include Jackson County, where Christian nationalists are also hoping to establish their own community, giving some of the same reasons Orwell gives for choosing the region.
But Appalachia in general has a lot of founding stock Americans who are very rooted to the land here, you know. People who came over more recently might not have that very deep sense of white American identity.
We have to look for ways where we can securely have our own territory that is actually ours.
Presenting himself as a thoughtful person, Eric Orwell chooses his words carefully when describing his personal beliefs. How do you describe yourself? Are you a white supremacist, white nationalist, neo-Nazi, any of the above?
None of the above. I'm a white identitarian. I think that ethnic identity, racial and ethnic identity, is a big part of who you are.
While portraying himself as someone mainly interested in preserving white heritage, Orwell has developed a close relationship with the white nationalist Patriot Front, which wants to turn the U.S. into an ethno-state for whites only. What is your relationship with the Patriot Front?
I believe that they are good faith actors. I think their ambitions for seeing political change are noble, even if I don't completely agree with their strategy or perhaps ultimate objective.
But photos posted by Patriot Front show Orwell was one of the speakers recently at the group's first national conference alongside neo-Nazi Robert Rundo. This is Rundo attacking a counter-protester at a Trump rally in 2017. And here at the Patriot Front conference, that's Rundo on the left. To the right is Orwell giving the fist over heart salute.
Life, liberty, victory!
The official salute of Patriot Front. You had a post on X on September 15th that said folks are willing to call for violence but unwilling to join one of the few groups on our side that know how to organize and deploy men. Who is that group that you were referring to?
I was indirectly referring to Patriot Front.
As our News Channel 5 investigation has revealed, Patriot Front has built a compound in East Tennessee where it trains men to fight, although it claims it's just a way for them to develop themselves personally.
Patriot Front does a lot of training for hand-to-hand combat. Do you think they're in a position, want to even prepare for battle for civil war?
Well, I'm not against preparing for civil war because it may happen, not of our choosing.
Orwell has argued that this iconic photo of U.S. Marshals escorting 6-year-old Ruby Bridges as she integrated a Louisiana school represents what he calls the immorality of forced integration.
And what they did was they chose one social model and said, you're all going to live this way. And it just wasn't really a democratic process.
Meaning the white people didn't get their way?
Yeah, the Democratic majority, if they don't get their way, that's undemocratic.
A Jewish journalist released an article today attacking my character, trying to smear me.
While he insists he's not anti-Semitic, after a news report revealed that he and his ex-wife had once starred in a series of live-streamed porn videos, Orwell seemed to think that one of the reporter's ethnic backgrounds had something to do with it.
You kept referring to it as the Jewish reporter or the Jewish journalist. And I wasn't sure why.
We're Jewish.
What does that have to do with the fact?
The fact is that Gentile journalists weren't coming after me for having a white neighborhood. Jewish journalists were.
Then there was this post where another person on X wrote, I do not blame all the Jews for everything. Don't hate Jews for being Jews. Orwell responded, have you considered that you might not know enough about Jews yet?
I don't think that's a direct quote. And it could be a fake account. Yes,
it is.
Show me.
This is off of your X account.
Yeah, I didn't mean to insinuate that you should hate Jews for being Jews. Blaming Jews for everything. I may have been a bit tongue-in-cheek there.
And there's a post where he appeared to defend Adolf Hitler, saying, interesting that you don't even acknowledge the alleged Jewish wrongdoing or what punishment that would merit if true.
Do you believe that the Jews had it coming from Hitler?
Had it coming? I mean, it's not my place to judge.
It seems to me that saying there is no reason at all to murder 6 million Jews is an easy answer.
Yeah, well, I don't know that 6 million Jews were murdered. I don't know that.
We can have dozens of these communities within the next 5 years. We can have hundreds of them if we keep the momentum up.
As for his hopes to establish whites-only communities, Orwell says he thinks Donald Trump's administration provides the best hope to establish a new legal precedent.
I don't know if he personally would condone what we're doing, but I think he's enough of a true conservative that he would believe that we have the right to do it.
And Orwell tells me he's getting lots of support for his idea, enough so that he has been able to quit his job and focus on this project full time. Asked if any of that money is coming from the millionaires or billionaires who are trying to re-engineer American society, he claimed he did not know for sure, although he added that he is getting some, what he described as very large donations. Rory?
Phil, thank you. We know you're going to keep watching this. This is one of many investigations Phil has produced in the last 2 years.
That's a very interesting piece. When I was watching it, I thought a couple of things you guys in the chat had to say. Well, look at the cowardice there. That was Jose. Right? Cowards, he says. Because when they hit him with the Jewish question, he backed his ass right up off of that, right? But I was also thinking, man, they built this thing in Tennessee. And I'm thinking, man, how much land is there in Tennessee, for example, or in the rural South, for that matter, that can be incorporated and turned into black towns? And, you know, how come our people, and I know some of our people do it from time to time. You'll hear a story about a family who bought, 10 acres of land or something and made it a family property and stuff like that. I remember some years ago, there was a group who incorporated a town somewhere in Georgia, I think, like in rural Georgia. So it can be done. And then Trigger asked the question, do you think this is bad news for the idea of a new Africa. And that's exactly how I felt when I saw them showing that line and mentioning that they built this thing in Tennessee. I'm like, wow, if you have these guys taking root and doing the things that we should have done, that Black America should have done, get this land, clear it, build on it, and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's bad news for that. RBG said he don't think that town would last 10 years. That's possible, but RBG, expand on that a little bit more.
I mean, I just think that, you know what I'm saying, it's one big they're just trying to recruit, people's people, white people's white folks. I mean, there's a whole, you know what I'm saying, people have all kinds of perspectives. You know what I'm saying? If it were so, there would be tons of these towns. Like I said, it's just another sundown town rebranding. You know what I'm saying? They already have majority white towns in this country where you if you Black, you probably shouldn't be walking around the streets. We know. So like it's just a rebranding of the whole sundown town thing. That's all it is. I just don't see. I mean, white people's white people, but how many white people like for just out here just like I'm just going to go and you know what I'm saying, like it don't, that shit don't pan out because people going to want another job. They're going to cross the country. If they can cross the country to move there, they're going to find some money somewhere else. The economy's crazy. So I mean, man, 10 years, maybe 20. But I mean, it's gonna fizzle out, man. It's whatever thunder that they spitting now is this man. I don't get. I see it. I see a lot of huffing and puffing, and white people need and heritage of people don't know where the fuck they come from. They don't know they treat. There's a lot of Black people in Europe, you know what I'm saying, not that long ago. I mean, there's a lot of Black people. Some people say that a lot of the nobility in like the 9th, 10th century and all that was Black people. You know what I'm saying? Because Black people was up in Africa, you know what I'm saying? You had basically African monarchs, you know what I'm saying? African nobles, Black people. So I hear all this. I do. You know what I'm saying? You just focus on the actual, track record of towns where it's basically 95% white, 98% white. You know what I'm saying? Maybe someone a Black person who just happens to be on the outskirts of town or something like that, and you know what I'm saying, he goofy with it, and they let him be goofy with it, and you know what I'm saying, he a Vic, but like focus on the places where it's already things, you know what I'm saying, all this, you know what I'm saying, I don't care about that. It ain't nothing new. People build towns, you know what I'm saying, mostly white people, and they gonna do what white folks do. I mean, if it's like that, white people are gonna be on their white shit. So it's just avoid that place. You know what I'm saying? Go skirt around town. You don't gotta go somewhere where you're not wanted. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah, y'all did so much back and forth in the first topic. I've now forgotten what Black Steel sounds like. So Black Steel, what's your thoughts on this guy thinking sHitler was right?
I'm deeply hurt by that, Coco, that you forgot what I sound like. I think I'm gonna go cry in the car when I get done with the podcast. But but let me say this, right? I'm gonna take my time because y'all took y'all time with that last prompt. So I'm gonna take my time, goddammit. Okay, so couple things. If these white people would just stay in their little white enclave, right? And just live their little happy white lives and raise their little happy white children. You know what? They could have stayed in Europe for that. It's so funny to me, this whole idea of return to the land after your ancestors came here and genocided the indigenous population who had been on that land. Now all of a sudden you want to return to the land. Why don't you go back to Europe? Why don't you go back to England or France or whatever province of Germany your Kraken ancestors came from? But no, you want to find. Okay, I've been to that part of Tennessee. There was we went on vacation a couple years ago. Shout out to the Hilton resorts. They put a resort in a former sundown town. It's a place called Crossville, Tennessee. My son called it Cross Burningville because when we went there, there were no black people in this town, to the point to where they looked at us funny when we were in the grocery store, that they had never seen a black person before. Maybe you didn't, whatever, who cares, right? But the idea that these white people are going to stay in their town, right? The European cultural ideology will not allow them to just exist in their town. This town will spread. They will come into conflict with other people, white and non-white, because the European ideology needs someone to be the cultural other. They need someone to scapegoat that their problems are with, right? Bringing it back to what Hitler, he's talking about is Hitler, right? So the Jewish people had been used as a scapegoat in Europe for centuries. So during the Black Death in the 14th century, the idea was that, oh, the reason we're getting sick is because the Jews are poisoning the wells. No, y'all motherfuckers are dirty and you don't wash your asses, and now you got fleas. That's how you got the plague. But what they did, they blamed the Jewish people in Europe and Germany and in France and whatnot. So they would regularly burn Jewish communities and kill Jewish people, because that was a scapegoat for them to justify, oh, this is happening to us. Hitler's problem with the Jews is because he felt that Germany, after the First World War, was not defeated on the battlefield. He felt that Germany was defeated at the peace negotiations in the Treaty of Versailles. So he felt that the Jewish population of Germany acted as a fifth column to betray the German people and bring in what they call Bolshevism, also known as communism, because of course Karl Marx was Jewish. There was a strong communist party in Germany at the time. So when the German economy hit rock bottom in the years after the First World War, Hitler comes to power. Yeah, it's all the Jews' fault. They're the reason we lost the war. We were never defeated. In fact, Hitler fought in the First World War. He was injured in a gas attack, and he had to, he was in the hospital recuperating. He finds out Germany surrenders. He's like, "What the fuck? What you mean Germany surrendered? We were winning." In his mind, they were winning. But it's an easy way to blame your own cultural failings. We can see that in the United States right now. When the American economy is tanking, as it is right now, who's getting the blame? It's the immigrants, it's the Mexicans, it's the illegals, because European culture requires I think Francis, as I remember Ani said in Murugu, they require a cultural other. The European culture produces a lot of rage and a lot of anger, right? And if that anger is not turned against somebody, white people will destroy themselves. So they're not going to build these little white enclaves in the mountains in Tennessee and farm and fish and have horseshoe games and all that other stuff. No, that European aggression will seek to find somebody. So to Real Black Gentleman's point, if they don't have anybody to vent their aggression on, in 10 years they're done. If that, 10 years is stretching, right? But again, he said he wants to build other communities. These communities will come into conflict, right, with other non-white people groups, be it Latinos, be it Native Americans, but 9 times out of 10, it's going to be black people. It's going to be black people, because the United States is a dying empire, and now we're faced with what I would consider to be the threat of balkanization. For those who might not be what I'm referring to, is when a larger nation breaks apart and forms into smaller entities, right? What happens when you have a state like Texas, right, that is already ran by a white supremacist, racist governor? A state like Florida, a lot of these Bible Belt, Black Belt states fall into, as America begins to fall apart, the federal government, is not able to enforce the law, which is going to happen sooner rather than later, I believe, especially with this current administration. But these white people they're gathering behind a white identity, and they come from the idea that the white person is oppressed, right? The white man will soon be a minority in the United States, on the continent that our forefathers fought and bled for, quote unquote, right? And this troubles them because they want to be able to maintain their dominance, and they don't want a United States that is no longer a majority white nation. Although white people have never needed to maintain a majority to have power. Look at South Africa, look at Rhodesia. But even so, this idea that, and it is true that the birth rate of white people has gone down, but the birth rate of most people especially in the Western world has gone down because of the cost of living. Again, they're blaming Jews and black people for the great replacement, or whatever they call it the great replacement. But again, the true source of their problem is never correctly identified until it's too late. So we're talking about late stage capitalism that has commodified everything and has increased the cost of living to the point where people can't afford food, people can barely afford housing, and people don't want to have kids in that environment. But instead of correctly identifying capitalism as their enemy, no, it's the Jews, it's the niggers, right? I believe it was Winston Churchill. He said something I always like. I don't care for him, but I like his quote. He said, you can always count on Americans to do the right thing after they've tried everything else. So white people, what they're going to do, they're going to slaughter in this, and I'm glad Trigger had to mention the Turner Diaries. White people, these racists, these identity extremists, these Project Europa, whatever the hell they call themselves, they're going to slaughter the whoever they can get closest to them. They're going to go after black people, they're going after immigrants, and then eventually they'll finally get to the true source of their problems. Unless we organize and we fight back. We have to understand this type of thinking is an existential threat. You don't debate it, you don't argue the point, just make sure your weapons are close, you got you some ammo. Because if this type of thinking is allowed to thrive, again, he says he wants to test the boundaries of the Fair Housing Act. We want to see just how far he can go. And to be honest, black people don't really want to live around these crackers. That's not you wake up morning. I can't wait to live around white people. We want to live in nice homes. We want to live in safe neighborhoods. We want our kids to be able to go outside and play without worrying about being threatened. That's what we really want. We don't have any desire to live around white people like that. But just overall, yeah, dude is he's got to be ready. You got to be ready. He's nothing more than white supremacist. You can use all the fancy words and colorful language he wants to use. It's just, at the end of the day, a cracker is a cracker is a cracker. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Good stuff, Black Steel. Let me hear from Joe Sanek.
Yeah, Jose, I put you to sleep. My bad. Dang.
Yes. No. I was zoomed in, and I was looking for the microphone button. Beautiful analysis, and that's what I spotted too. The European is going to on his own. He's going to destroy himself. Look at them in Europe. I mean, the Eastern Europeans against the Northwestern Europeans against the Southern Europeans are quiet now, for a long time because they are broke as, you know what I'm saying? So they are quiet. But the Eastern Europeans, very critical against the source of the cancer, right? But they are just as cancerous, right? White only, Catholic, Polish motherfuckers being rough at the border with White Russia because Syrians and Afghans have found a route into the EU by that way, etc. And the Hungarian dude. Some of these, and recently this week, the two petrol stations in two Eastern European countries were attacked, and they are suspecting Poland. Poland wants war with Russia. but they shitting in their pants because Russia is not going to hold back with them. It won't be the first time that Poland betrays them, and Russia is the Putin's finger is like an inch from the button. Like, say something, nigga. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, guys, let's step aside and let them fix them. Just step aside if you don't want to stay in Africa or in Brazil or wherever you deem to be aside, but step aside, let them handle each other. It will happen. Thank you. Wait. On the topic, is Hitler right? And yeah, white folks. Uh, I've spotted some on my ex profile. It says I'm in the Netherlands, and I spotted some type of FBA shit, like white Americans, Euro Americans, uh, uh, talking to Europeans the same way as FBA speaks of other black folks, like you're weak and we beat you and that type of stuff. So you just let them. They are not. Look, they colonized our nations, right? And our nations is a mess. That's their system. That's their education, their politics, their logistic structure, etc. And look at their nations. With all the wealth that they stole, they still fail. Why? Because they organized their nations, just as they organized our nations. You understand? Let it happen. These apes need a, 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 a couple of 10,000 of years to get where us humans are and have been. So yeah, thank you.
Appreciate that, Jose. Let's hear from Real Black. Sorry, let's hear from Icon Fire. But Icon Fire, stick to the topic for me, please.
Yeah, I always stick to the topic, Quaker. All right, listen. Um, um, Quaker, Guana, me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Um, 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 if it wasn't for World War II, wouldn't we still be under British rule?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
yeah, because it's like it's the weakening of the British Empire because of World War II, why we gain power enough to fight for independence. The British relented because of their weakness. You feel me? We have the what they call it, the Windrush generation, who are families who went to England to build it in the 1950s and 60s. You right? So so technically technically Hitler gave us independence. Would you say that?
That's quite a stretch. That's
I,
quite a
I would
stretch.
say you was a wild boy. You was a
That's
wild boy.
quite a stretch.
Yo, what is going on right now?
Bro, that's quite
What?
a stretch. Well, you stretching like Mr. Fantastic right now. What?
Y'all are hilarious. Oh my god.
Dude, that's even a
Oh
further
my god.
stretch than the expansion of the universe, man. I don't know how the hell you reached that conclusion.
Well, I haven't finished. You feel me? And I stand with my word because Africa in general what got independence because the France and Britain and Germany, They were all dominating Africa in World War II. And after World War II, because Hitler blew them apart, invaded France, invaded England, and ripped them apart, even though he lost, it is because of him. It is because of Hitler why we are free.
Nonsense.
Actually,
What is going
that's
on right now?
nonsensical.
I can find. Let me say this, bro. That's so. Listen,
But
it's
don't
not.
interrupt me. I ain't finished. Have some respect. I ain't finished. But all right,
Unbelievable. Okay, go ahead. You got it.
listen what I'm saying. Listen what I'm saying. I ain't all right. Fine. Not it's not that. And I'm gonna jump off that.
I hear
There's
you.
a rift. There's a rift between white people and the small hats. I refer to them as them or they. You feel me? Now listen. They in earlier times were were got the opportunity to keep the goal of a lot of European kings. That's in the maybe 4th century, 5th century, all that straight up to now. Okay, so what they did is they formulated banking systems and they sent their people in France, Germany, England, and these regions, and they um acquired the major banking systems in these countries. That's what this dude is talking about of their conspiracy to in World War I. You feel me? And that's what caused World War II. And also, what I'm trying to say is they in America is the banking system. They are IMF and they are the World Bank. That's them. You feel me? So what's the rift in America is they are sucking the money away, and the whites of America don't like that. So that's what's causing the rift, because they have actually come to own America. You feel me? That's them. So a lot of white people feel powerless, and that's what you hear the animosity. Now all of them is white, but they are a tribe. They're a Jew tribe, and they're French tribe, Spanish tribe. All of these are different tribes. You feel me? So these white people who combine together as whites, they are left out a lot out of the power access in terms of finance by Chase Bank and the IMF, and the IMF owned the federal. You wouldn't even know the money part of America is them that really controlling it. You feel me? So that's what's going on, and that's why um so much respect have to be given to them by the government. You feel me? Because they can pull strings. You feel me? And so with that,
Icon, you
yeah,
take a long time to get there, brother. You take a long time to get there, but you know what? I on your road. I on your road with that argument. That argument, not the Hitler argument, but I on your road. I on your road.
yeah, yeah, but listen, I'm not on nobody's side. I'm on black people's side. I'm just trying to show you what it's the same thing. It's the same thing. They were holding that over Hitler finance. You feel me? It's the same thing. That's what caused it. Finance. You feel me? And that's what's going on here. Why their own color people is fighting. So you would wonder why are the white supremacists behaving like that? And that's the reason. If you didn't know, you feel me? But that's why they talking that way. That like, oh, he was good because he was torturing them. You understand? But
Can I
Appreciate
go?
that.
Okay, go ahead.
yeah.
Appreciate that. I can fire. Let me. You know what? Since Juana asked, I was gonna go to Sister Cheryl, but Juana, go ahead.
Yeah. I just want to build on the second point Icon Fire made, and I thought that Black Steel was going to get it, but Black Steel didn't see it. My question is, why is a company that is controlled and run, ABC, controlled and run by the small hats, platforming a white supremacist? Why would they do that? If it's only to they trying the small hats are trying to consolidate power in the United States. So when you see a video like this, right? Most people going because people are asking the question, why is it that the small hats in the United States are getting so much legislation on their behalf? If you say anything, what you see is obvious within America. You say, well, everything is anti-Semitic. If you say the wrongs that they do, especially with Netanyahu committing the genocide, they say anti-Semitic. They are funding the healthcare program right now in Israel, where many Americans can't get proper health care and medical issues addressed. So there must be a justification for it. So you have to create a boogeyman. So this is a boogeyman to justify all the legislation that's coming on their behalf. The most vulnerable people in the United States are not the Jewish community. The Jewish community have enough power within the American system because of what Icon Fire just said, because the banking system and all these things, they could get their own Mossad and IDF to protect them if they feel threatened. If they feel threatened. So legislation in America should be towards the most vulnerable people in America. I don't think that's the Jews. I think you have black people who are vulnerable, where you should have special legislation for that group of people. The Indian community, Indian feathers, not dots, should have legislation to protect them. So when you have these boogeyman groups, because these people are being scapegoated, whether they know it or not, these dumb white boys, to create legislation and consolidate power within the United States. Because ABC wouldn't platform a person like there are many enclaves in America, many. Utah, North Dakota, South Dakota, all over the United States of America. Mar-a-Lago, where you could go and live exclusively without even seeing a black person. As a matter of fact, most of these people are going to these communities, buy Netflix, and then watch Menace to Society because they like to watch this and they entertained by our misery. You know what I mean? So, so that's not the issue of him building a little small town. There's many small towns in America where they never even seen a black person or a non-white person before. So that's not the issue of him building a town. What they are trying to do is create a boogeyman to justify all the legislation that's coming down the pipeline in reference to this small community enclave of people. So they need to be protected. They need to be protected. The Muslims, they are. Do you know what they're doing to Mamdani right now in New York City? And the crazy shit they saying about him, the Muslim community is threatened. Is threatening threatening in NYC right now. You know, more so, and they are Semitic people, more so than the Jewish community who wield all the power because of the banking system. So for me, I look at this as a hit piece. This shouldn't be an argument whether Hitler was right or wrong or whatever. This is what the media is trying to create a narrative, the scapegoat to consolidate power. That's how I see this. I don't know how the other brothers see it, but I thought that Black Steel would have catch that. You know what I mean? But I know his focus was on the prompt. But if you ask yourself some fundamental questions, why would ABC, a controlled corporation run by a Jewish community, platform this nonsense? Where everywhere, most places in America are enclaves where there are no black people whatsoever. And this guy don't have no money. Mar-a-Lago have real money, where black people can't go, and the only black people or Mexican or Latino people who go inside them areas are people who clean up the yard and thing. And after they clean, they have to go back where they come from. So it's not an issue about building a black all white community that already exists. The idea is to consolidate power by the small hats. That's how I view this. That's why on Icon Fire's second argument, when he started getting into the banking system and who controls things and runs and governs America, I understand that. I understand that. But I'll just leave it there just to be brief. I just wanted to point that out because he wasn't so far off on that second argument. But I'll just leave it there.
Appreciate that, Juana. Start from Sister Cheryl next on this one.
Can I be honest with everybody? Like sometimes when it comes to like conversations like this, I get very confused. Like I don't know, like with white, like we try to say, oh, this white group, and then there's this white group. I think the lines blend so much for me. Like I get so confused with Jewish, and then he's saying these white factions that agree with Hitler. Like they all seem in America. They they just seem the same to me. Maybe that's just my ignorance, but I kind of like when someone brought up that there always has to be like a cultural other. I can't remember who said that, but whoever said that and made that analysis, that was pretty much everything that I was thinking. Like I was, because I'm thinking like, yes, there are white people in white communities. They have their communities, but they're not all ideologically aligned. And it's just, and when you see white people that are trying to separate themselves, trying to do what Hitler like aspired to do, to have a somewhat of as much of a pure race as they possibly can, is because they're trying to gather a whole bunch of white people who think the same. So ideologically, through and through, they don't want no white person that's gonna be buddy buddy with a Mexican or a buddy buddy with a black person or anything that's not white. They are true quintessential white nationalism. They want to be able to have free range to do whatever they want to do. If they feel like they want to, they get the desire, the urge to hang a black person, they want to just be able to do it and do it off grid. That's pretty much. It's not really for much for me to say because um, everything's been said. So I just wanted to make that point. Is like I just get confused sometimes with the separation of the Jewish and the like when white people say, oh, it's the Jews, like that just seems like a huge distraction for black people. And it's just like they're not like too far removed from each other. They just have different ideologies, and one wants to go this way and the other one wants to go that way. But at the end of the day, it's bad news for us either way. And I just think about all the black people in the United States that it's like a hanging. I know it's not like mainstream or anything, but there's like a black person being hanged like every week, and they always rule it a suicide. So I guess that's what I'm more focused on in terms of white people nationalizing and doing all this stuff and stuff like that. So I mean, I don't know. Well, what do you guys think?
Well, sure.
I agree.
I
I
agree,
agree
and
with.
Go ahead, Coco.
Sorry,
I'm
Black.
sorry.
So let me just quickly say this. I agree with you 100%. But that doesn't mean I disagree with Buana and them either, who came before you. I think it's all true. I think that the idea of black folks separating out, and I know Bakari says this a lot too. The idea of black folks separating out white folks, I think that's nonsense. Because I think it's nonsense. Because historically, when you look at the Jewish person, those guys were heavy in the money game, which was heavy in slavery and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really separate them out. They're all white folks. They're all enemies to me. But if you decide to have the conversation of the nuances of then what Buana was saying, and Icon and Black Steel was all true. You know what I mean? If you decide to indulge in that. But for the most part, I think black folks should just look at all these people as their enemy and keep it moving. Black Steel, go ahead.
I was gonna say really quickly, the reason why we look at it is because we got to find things we can exploit, right? The enemy of my enemy can sometimes still be my enemy, but sometimes we tend to think of white people as some sort of unified force, and they're not. And I think our people have made many gains by playing off one white enemy against another. And I think that's very strategic sometimes. I think sometimes we forget about strategy. Black people have been losing for so long, we don't know what winning is like. And that's, you have to be able to strategize. Like, yeah, these white people don't like them white people, but they don't like us, but they hate them other white people more. How can we benefit from that? How can we use that to our advantage? So I think understanding these differences is very important, even historically. Just for an example, many African people would run away to Spanish Florida during slave period. Now, Spain was no friend to black people. The British weren't any friend of black people, but Spain hated Britain more than they hated enslaving black people at the time. We could kind of figure out some ways we can use this to our advantage. So all I'm saying is that by knowing these things, we can know which groups to play off of each other, because you know who does that? White people do that. White people are very skilled at learning which groups have arguments with other groups, and they're able to divide and conquer and use that to their strategy. Now it's time that we know. I understand a cracker is a cracker is a cracker, but why is it that these Cajuns don't like these hillbillies? Why can we use that to our advantage? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I get that too. That's not a bad point. I'll just quickly say that ultimately, this is just my feelings right now. Ultimately, one group of white folks ain't gonna really, the entirety of white folks ain't gonna see one group lose in a strategy like that, right? I think at the end of the day, they're gonna still band together against black. That's just my take on it. But Ditso, what's your take on all of it?
Oh boy.
And be kind of brief for me.
I'm going to go quick and fast, so please no interruptions. Number one, this Orwell is an idiot buffoon whose words are easily disconstructed by indicating that Orwell represents the complete and utter buffoonery and ignorance of the white man. It clearly shows to us that this guy is just following on the footsteps of segregation, of hate, and everything that is un-American in every sense of the way. He's a traitor and he's a terrorist, and he should be treated as a criminal. That is the bottom line. Now, I wanted to address real quickly the words of Icahn. Unfortunately, Icahn went off a little bit of subject, but matter of fact, the era of independence and the change of European hegemonic started in the Western Hemisphere, and particularly from the era of, I would say, roughly 1776 to 1826, 50 years. By that time frame, Europe lost 96% of the colonies that were here in the Western Hemisphere. On that time, only technically two countries in Africa became independent, which were Libya in 1848 and South Africa in 1910. And then post-World War II, that's when the majority of independence started hitting Africa and Asia almost simultaneously. That being said, the rest of the nonsensical argument provided by Icahn, I'm not attacking you, Icahn, I'm attacking the argument. And the argument in itself is that it's all over the place, no understanding of the timeline of the historical events and how they influence one another. In fact, World War I started because Serbia wanted independence from the Austro-Hungary Empire, where those ideas of independence came from. Now, coming back to subject of this Orwell idiot, in order to destroy that idiot, you have to understand, and you just go to his page, YouTube page, and you'll see that he calls himself a Christian Platonism. He follows the Christian Platonism, and in order to understand that, you have to understand how Plato has influenced Christianity, which is an interesting conversation in and of itself, and I could have it for hours. But anyhow, the point being here is that the so-called white man and the gringo-centric white man from the Western Hemisphere, the Anglo-speaking. If the problems of identity in the Black community are profound because of the history that we carry, as well as indigenous ones, the white man is completely lost. They don't have an identity here in the Western Hemisphere. They're just an amalgamation of the idiocy that they don't know where the hell they're standing on in that sense. And once you attack that, you break the white man. You break them entirely. But unfortunately, in order to do so, you need to have an education, and you need to have a correct sense of education. And what that correct sense of education is understanding the timeline, the chronological timeline, the anthropological evidence, and everything that is based on of that. We can't follow people like Sertima, who tried to present hypothesis, but his hypothesis fell on his face because he never actually did the work of proving it. And at the same time, we can identify the bullshitters of the white man because, like Sertima, they present hypotheses that they never fucking prove. So the bottom line on this sense is this type of buffoons, loudmouth gringos who have no idea what the hell they're talking about, they're enemies of freedom and liberty. And as such, they should be treated with the harshest methods possible. Destroy their beliefs, destroy their identity, and make them face how stupid they are.
Appreciate that, did so. Me personally, I wouldn't attack Dr. Van Sertima. His theory might need some more evidence, sure, but I won't ever say anything he said is idiocy or anything of that nature. With that said, man, I know you've been waiting a while to hear what everyone else had to say.
Could I address
I got someone. I have someone who's been waiting to speak for a while now. After that, we can hear from Iken. But Brother Bakari, what say you to everything you heard so far?
I'm gonna speak on the prompt. Was Hitler right? Shit, man. Maybe he was right to him. I don't know. That ain't about them white people fighting. Was he right? Maybe. Could be not. Can't say. But that video showed a lot, right? About them, how they train in the fight. I've asked people several times, man, who's out here taking self-defense courses, right? See, fuck Hitler. He dead. What they were talking about is going on right now. And they want to attack us, right? So if Hitler was right, like I said, I don't know. But are we taking self-defense courses? Are we training? And when we say, I saw what would they attack one another? Yes, because they already went into an all-white town. One of them did. And the all-white town didn't want the Christian.
Did we lose Brother Bakari, or is it just me?
We lost
Yeah,
him.
I'm not hearing.
I lost him. I don't hear him.
Lost him.
All right. Iken, until Brother Bakari comes back, Iken, and then whoever else needs to speak after that.
Yeah, my brother referred to me, but I have time for him and all that. Go ahead.
I'm sorry about that, man. But what I was saying is what they're doing, right? So when it comes to black people talking about the Jews, for the most part, like our black people have taken on a white nationalist mindset. They're gonna blame everything Jew. Those people worked together during slavery. You got black people that was enslaved by Jews. Jews were the shipbuilders for those same white nationalists. They did the insurance for those same white nationalists. They did all of that. But we have taken on the mindset of white nationalists about the Jews. We took on their mindset. we started using the great replacement theory. Oh, they're bringing people here to replace us. We, when I say we have become, and maybe Kofi them right. Maybe we are more related to the Europeans than we are to other black people because we have taken on their mindset so much. So much. Well, we just say everything that they say. It's a so-called, and I thought it was, and I don't deal with these folks no more. It was a so-called black revolutionary group, allegedly. He gonna hook up with the white nationalists because they gonna help him fight the Jews. I'm like, what the hell wrong? What's wrong with us? We have taken on their mindset. I don't separate these white folks because they're gonna always work together. And if we think just Jews own everything, own all the news networks, and if you don't think no other white people got getting that money and have propped that up, man, we out our damn mind. I have given a couple of documentaries that we could watch. This going to RBG when he said these things won't last. I've said a couple documentaries before that we could watch. Then you go look these things up and it's true. They are putting money, these white folks, these Jews, they are putting money into these places. As of 2023, they had raised right at $2 billion for projects like the dude in Arkansas is doing, because that was in Arkansas, and he's taking it to Tennessee. They are putting money there. So they will fight each other because the white, like I said, the white people that don't want us don't necessarily, and I don't want them either, don't necessarily want to be with them. So it was one white town that have already told the white Christian nationalists that y'all can't buy no land here, and they refused to in Tennessee, and they refused to sell them land. But I'm not going to sit here and separate and act like Jews is all the problems to the world when you can look and see what these other white folks have done historically to black people, just like the Jews. We'll let those white people off the hook and just say Jew did this and the Jew did that and the Jew control this and the Jew control that. Yeah, the Jew have control over certain things, and so do those other white people have control over certain things, and they are all working together to keep black people at the bottom. They're all working together to keep us at the bottom, and we have some of our people that have joined forces with them. So for me, the video wasn't even about whether Hitler was right. The video was about, are we seeing what they're doing and we know they want to attack, and what's going to be our plan? Are we going to start training? I've been telling people I take boxing for training black women, learn to box, learn some self-defense. I've asked people, have you been taking pepper spray training? All this stuff. Some people, they want to kill us. All this stuff will be needed. We can get a gun and a bullet, but what you gonna hit with your gun and your bullet if you ain't out training? I was talking to Koku about if anybody live close to a paintball where you go play paintball, use paintball to have strategy to defend yourself, because that's what it's designed for. Unfortunately, we don't own the land 90% of the times where we can go, where we can do paintball. But I've been talking to some folks here, and they ain't no multi-millionaires, but we got a little money, and we trying to get us some land so we can have more access to training in certain things. So for me, fuck the Jews, pardon my French, fuck the Jews, fuck the white nationalists, the Christian nationalists. They all in the same damn boat to me, because when the shit hit the fan, they all want to destroy us. And on that note, I yield the mic.
Well said, Brother Bakari. Yeah, that paintball thing, I meant to. Actually, I tried looking up like a YouTube footage of militarism with black folks doing paintball. But all I could find is white folks doing paintball, running military drills, and all kind of stuff. We could be using that that type of activity ourselves. I know Ike want to add something, and then whoever else wants to speak, we're gonna end this in a few minutes, and I can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, man. Listen, in 1945 to 1947, that was the end of World War II. 10 years later, 1957, Ghana got independence. That's 10 years after World War II. So what is the what could be what else could be? I mean, you're talking about um a strong empire such as Britain, who just earlier, a few, not maybe not even 100 years, they invaded Ghana. You feel me? And stole things from Ghana. Not even 100 years before that. So what I'm trying to say is none of them was ready to give up no power. None of them. So in the Caribbean in 1947, all of us, was under direct British rule. Guadeloupe and Martinique is still under direct French rule today. So what I'm trying to say to you is, um, 10 years after 1947, Ghana got independence, and then everybody else followed suit and got independence, including in the Caribbean. You feel me? So that just is telling me that, or technically, it is because of World War II why so much British Empire, so much colonies of the British Empire got free. You feel me? And we were exited from direct colonization, and
All right.
therefore we ended up in neo-colonization. When it comes to the white supremacists, I kind of like that dude on the I like him, because if that these type of people will make it possible for black people to maybe gain a state, or a couple states for their self. You feel me? Because if you want your area, you feel me? Then black people supposed to be designated, or designate themselves an area. You feel me? And of course, it may be fuss and fight, but that would be good for black people to have their space, and they have their space. So that's how I see it. Like, it might be bad, but sometimes it might be turn out good. So that's where I see that.
All
Okay.
right. I'm sorry. Were you done?
Yeah.
Okay. So one thing there's a quote that says correlation does not imply causation. What that means is that just because two things might be related, it doesn't necessarily mean that one causes the other, right? So I agree that in the wake of World War II, many African nations were able to get independence, as well as India and so forth. However, that ignores the work that was being done prior to World War One and World War II. The first Pan-African Congress, I think it was like 1909. So African people had been moving towards independence for before even the first World War.
But you can't
Hold
look
on,
at it
hold
that
on, hold on.
way.
Let me cook. I'm almost done. All right. I'm not gonna
But
be that
you
long.
can't make
I'm
it
not
look
gonna be
that
that
way.
long, brother. Hold on. Now you said you didn't want to interrupt you. All right. So what I'm saying is that these people have already working to it. But to my point, what I was saying earlier, right? Black people using strategy. They use the strategy of World War One as a World War II breaking out. Not only that, but we often forget about the Japanese, because the Japanese inflicted the greatest defeat on the British Empire ever. Not the Germans, the Japanese. But we would never say, oh, we were taking advantage of Japan's, But what happened is that this: we were organized, we were strategic, and we took advantage of a moment that was in history to gain our freedom. Hitler had nothing to do with it. It was us who took advantage of that moment, because had we not been organized, had we not been strategic, right, that moment of history would have passed us by, and we'd still be enslaved. We'd still be colonized. But so I don't want to give a white man credit for nothing black people do. But we took advantage.
Can I refer to you something? Hold on. Can I refer to you something right now? Right now, a lot of African countries are even freeing up themselves even more. It's because of Russia. I'm not saying that Africans are not working. I'm not saying that we over here wasn't working and wasn't burning down cane fields and all that stuff. I'm not saying that. You feel me? I didn't say we wasn't doing anything. Of course we was doing things. You feel me? But you talking about a very powerful entity that had us by the balls. You feel me? And even now, right now, they have through neo-colonization, they have Africans by the balls. So a lot of African countries are are associating with Russia to help them. Listen, I don't have nothing against white people. I have things against the white people that offends us. Western Europeans, those are my enemies. Eastern Europeans are not my enemies. People like Russia, these people are not. These people like China. These people didn't colonize us.
I don't make an example.
I'm dealing with. Hold on. I'm dealing with these people that touch us and our people. You feel me? So when it comes to if a white people wanna if white people over there in Russia is helping, I will give them their props. You feel me? I would say if Russia help us, I will say Russian help us. I ain't borderline like I'm not going. No, I'm not that biased. You feel me? But I still have offense against white people. But when I say white people, I mean Western Europeans. You feel me? That's who I mean. And if I was strong enough, I would only oppose Western Europeans. I wouldn't go up against innocent white people that never came to us. You feel me? I would go against the ones that's guilty. And then this
Eastern
other guy.
Europeans
Hold
also
on.
took advantage of colonization, and they
Hold on,
thrived
hold on, hold
because
on.
of the colonization. So at the
And
end, Eastern
hold on, man.
European and Western
Hold on,
European said
man.
the same shit. Sorry.
I wasn't done, man. I wasn't done. Hold on, man. I know
Yeah, but
you
like I
said.
said,
Yeah, you also said that Libya and South Africa 1920. South Africa, that's not black South Africa. You're talking about white South Africa. That don't count. And Libya don't count. That's occupied land. So these places, these things don't count. Go get your history straight, bro, and chill.
Oh no, we're not gonna do that because I'm. If you want to get your history straight, you ain't gonna come around and try to tell me what I stated. What I stated was that the process of independence kicked off here in the Western Hemisphere, influenced and generated the conditions and the material conditions to then eventually have the issues of Africa and Asia evolve to what is today in modern day era. When I said that the two first countries in Africa became independent were Libya and South Africa, that's a factual sense. That the issues of South Africa and the issues of Libya, of racism and the impacts of colonization, that's another different point which I can recognize and then have conversation over. But then you decided to implement your the prejudice that you were having to what I was saying. I never indicated that it was that the problems did not exist. I only indicated that the independence of Africa, the only first two countries that did so were Liberia and South Africa, and that afterwards, Second World War, that's when we saw it kicked out. But why was independence such a push thing? Because of what had happened in the century before. So Latin America showed the world, as well as North, Central, South, and Caribbean, showed the world that Europe could be defeated and that Europe could be broken. And everything that happened after that, the Napoleonic era, the change of the century, World War I, World War II, was clearly showing the destabilization of Europe and the monarchies because of what happened by losing the colonies here. So are you now going to tell me that I should review my history, or is this sufficient, at least a basis analysis?
No, we're not going to argue. Can I have my 2 minutes?
Yeah, sorry, Jose, go ahead.
I agree with Bakari. It's going to stay, and in the comments I gave the example of Orania, those mofos in South Africa. Speaking of South Africa independence, the Orania, the white state or whatever it is, white city, white state. They marketing themselves like we made fertile land, and we turned desert into fertile land, etc. But without financing from the United States, that wouldn't happen, right? The United States is buying their wine and their oranges, so they can they have an income, right? So the same will happen with these motherfuckers. And another thing about Russia. No, please, no. Russia, they are not friends. They are trading partners. They have interests, and we share those interests. And the interest is anti-imperialism. So, okay, yes, I can live with them on this planet, but they're no friends. They are no friends, and the reason that I believe when I stand side to side with I can fire on Russian is the same as what I can fire says about the world wars. So this war in Ukraine is drawing so much money and attention away from us. And yes, we should grab that chance. Our time is now again. Thank you.
We haven't heard from Black Steve, from Real Black Gentleman, Buana in a while, Sister Alma. So if any one of you want to add a last thought here, now's the time.
I mean, I guess just, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's shoot the breeze, so you know what I'm saying? The breeze done picked up, right? But like, I'm just saying, like, I think that when you focus on the distinctions, you got to use a slider, dog. You got to use a slider. It's all white people. Then you kind of like divide into two groups and divide into three. And maybe those 2 and 3 aren't congruent, because if you divide something into 2, it's hard to divide. It's hard to fit that into 3 unless 2 is a part of 1. But sometimes, 3 and 2 blend. But it's how people is. It's culture and religion. That's how you have your pivots. I see pivots in people. So yeah, it's like, look, as far as like this, maybe I'm taking it a bit too lightly because it is kind of funded. But even a lot of things funded real big, even if it's funded real big, okay, I'll say 25 years though. I'm dead 25. I mean, I don't think that. I suppose that. When you hear the wolf calls, you can't be scared. You know what I'm saying? When you hear the wolf howling, you can't be scared. You're scared. They're gonna howl. I'm hurt. You know, and it's just like I keep it pushing, I keep it moving, I just assess it, add it into everything else that I'm concerned about. Okay, it's 2 places. Okay, in reality, it might be like 7. Okay, 7. Okay, where they at? Can you find the axis of where they is? If they're gonna try to use that as like some kind of like, you know, hardened line on some shit. Okay, that's information. Okay. Other than that, they ain't even built the town yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, motherfuckers give money, motherfuckers can take money away. So, like, I'm not scared. I ain't scared. You know what I'm saying? I see that shit. I ain't scared. That's all I got to say.
All right.
Yeah. What I gotta say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. Yeah. While I would agree with Brother Bakari, because I want to mess with Brother Bakari right now. While I would agree with Brother Bakari in terms of self-defense and practicing your Second Amendment rights, I would also add to what Brother Bakari said that find a good food source. There are a lot of black places that farms right now that's growing good food and good vegetables. Find a great food source. Study up on the human body and sickness and how to heal yourself. Develop a skill or trade in turn, or connect with people who actually build things, structures, foundations, and things like that. These are necessary. If you bring these kinds of people together, you create a level of community. Self-defense is important, but what is good too as well is other things like food, building, with older people and things like that. Try to see if you could find alternative ways and means and methods of ensuring their health, because they're cutting out healthcare as well. This is another thing that the American government seems to be trying to do. So see if you could hook up with a community that focuses on alternative medicine and how to heal the body, because we have a lot of sick people within our community. Our collective response is good, because not all of us are going to be soldiers. Not in terms of carrying, having, practicing, getting the gun and doing those kinds of things. Because I believe in self-defense, but you could also be a soldier in aspects of those other things that I would have mentioned. So I would just add to what Brother Bakari was saying, even though, Brother Bakari thinks that everything could be solved with an AK-47. But I'll just leave it there.
That's the last topic for tonight. What I'd like to do before people start leaving the panel in a flash is I'd like to get your shout outs for this week. Something positive that happened to you, or something you saw that happened in the African world. What are your shout outs this week? Chat, join in with your shout outs as well. Let me start with Brother Bakari. Brother Bakari, what's your shout out this week?
I'm going to shout out those students at those HBCU campuses that stood up to Brexit or whatever the hell their name is by basically ignoring them. They couldn't get no videos to go viral. I want to give a shout out. You know what? And we on the panel with this guy all the time. I want to give a shout out to Black Steel. I want to give a shout to real educators, right? Because Rwanda just said something. All the soldiers ain't gonna be out there with the guns and so on and so forth. An educator, somebody who taking their time trying to teach our youth, is just as much of a soldier as the person who out there with the gun on the front line. And we supposed to make sure our educators are taken care of. So with that being said, I wanted to give a shout out to Black Steel, because I know that's a hell of a job he got. I ain't gonna lie, man, because I might have been swung on some of them. But
I got stories, man. I got stories.
And that's about the size. So yes, Bawana is right. All the soldiers ain't gonna be out there that way. So our educators, our true, real educators who want to educate our children and liberate our children's mind, they are true soldiers, and they are showing true resistance to this system. And we are supposed to make sure our educators are okay. That's what I
Brother
have.
Bakari,
And once again, thank you,
you always give me a
Koku.
shout out for
Shout
giving me
out to
that
you for
idea.
hosting this. What's this say, Bawana?
You always give me a shout out for giving you that idea just now to
Yeah, I just said that. Yeah, I said Bawana. Yeah, when he
No,
said
you
that.
didn't.
Yeah.
No, I want to shout out like how you give.
Okay. My bad.
Yeah, I want
My
to shout.
bad. So I'm gonna give a shout out to Bawana, my Bahamian brethren, for giving me the idea, to give Black Steel that, and all our real educators a true shout out. And to my other Bahamian brethren, Koku, for hosting and always doing a great job on Saturday night with Shoot the Breeze. He had to put up with a lot of ish, and now sometimes it's my ish he putting up with. Yeah, but on that now, I hear the mic.
I appreciate that, brother. Bakari, me from Black Steel. Black Steel, what you like to shout this week?
Shout out to what was that girl's name? Rhoda, the girl who said she got hit by a brick and she lied. So
Rhoda
shout out to
Harper.
her, dumbass. She got 90 days in jail. She got to pay back for $42,000 she got from GoFundMe. She got a 10-year social media ban, which is glorious, right? So we have to be real. We have to be honest. A lot of Black people, a lot of Black men have spent decades, have lost their lives behind lies, right? And it's very easy to lie, especially on a Black man, because of the racism and the negative stereotypes about Black people. So this, if you're those who don't know, this woman says she got hit in the face with a brick by some dude she didn't want to give her number to. And it was all a lie. There was no brick. There was no dude. She made it up because she's a scammer. And she's had several situations where she's made up lies and was able to get on GoFundMe and scam and get people's money. So this time, she couldn't scam no more. She was caught. She had to pay restitution. And we'll see if she can stick to that social media ban. But it's good for once somebody wasn't able to get away with lying on a Black man and getting him incarcerated for years. Because what would have happened if the police would have just grabbed some poor Black person, mind their own business? She could have lied and said he fit the description. Next, his brother lose 10, 15 years of his life. Then come to find out it was all a lie, and she's got away with the money. So this is something that I was happy to see, that she faced consequences. Maybe she'll rethink her actions. Probably not, but at least at least there is some consequence to that. So that's my shout out. Fuck her life. And I love the show. Everybody had a good time tonight. I always enjoy talking to everybody. Thank you again for the shout out there, Buana. Because man, listen. And it's not even the Black kids. It's white. This year, these white kids on some other stuff this year. But anyways, have a good evening.
Yeah, thanks for coming through, Black Steel, as always. Shout out to you for giving that shout out. I posted about that on the Discord. If you haven't joined the Discord yet, just click the link in the description. But I didn't bring it as a topic on Shoot the Breeze. Well, I think for obvious reasons, for how the last few weeks have gone and people's criticism. But I noticed that the people, the dudes who was talking loud, and some people here in the chat too, who was caping for this Rhoda, when that story was, in the words of Dave Chappelle, clearly a lie. Those people are very quiet these last couple of days. Very, very quiet these last couple. Because you know why? It doesn't fit their paradigm. And y'all could think about it. It's the same paradigm that Umar Johnson has. Doesn't fit the paradigm, so they ain't saying nothing. They're not apologizing for being wrong. But I digress. Real Black
Hey,
Jeremy.
I don't mean to cut you off. I apologize for being wrong because I damn sure believe that woman. So I apologize for being wrong. You ain't got to try to throw no shots at me in secret, Koku. You can just say my name.
No, to be honest,
I know. I'm just
I didn't
clowning.
remember. I didn't remember if you were on that panel.
Well, no, I don't know if I was on that panel, but I know I did believe that woman. So I don't know if I was on that panel or not. But I was wrong. I've been realized I was wrong. So you're right. The hell, I'm like Black still the hell with her. Uh, I just want to
I
tell you
appreciate,
that I was wrong. I was wrong.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think we had that call. I think it was before you start coming on the show. So, but yeah, a lot of these people, Conscious Lee and all these guys, real quiet. Anyway, did I get RBG? Did I get Real Black Gentleman?
No. I'll be quick.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna give a shout out to New Orleans hip hop. I saw the Versus. I don't know if you guys know what the Versus is. It's basically a friendly competition between two Black American artists. And they had No Limit and Cash Money out of New Orleans. I just want to give a shout out to Black music, the roast tradition, you know what I'm saying, the battle tradition, the competitiveness of the lyricism, which I think is again is one of the greatest things that Black people actually do in a way, even though it's just wordplay. I mean, we are wicked with it. No one can do it like us. No one. They're gonna try to make machines to do it better than us. Then they're gonna still fail. They're not gonna be able to make the beat like us. They can try. They're gonna fail. So I just want to give a shout out to the Black music. You know what I'm saying? This one. You know what I'm saying?
That's a real good shout out. I appreciate that, RBG. That's a real good shout out. I know Ditso said he had to leave early. I don't know if he's still here or not. If he is, what's your shout out for this week?
Yeah, I'm here. Well, first, shout out to you as always for giving the spaces to have this type of conversations, and a shout out to Jamaica who survived hardly, but survived Melissa. I was there a day after it happened. I was assisting on with Jamaican authorities and as well as Jamaican communities to help provide assistance in what we could. It was a group of 7 of us, first responders of Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia. But what I was mostly impressed is the fact that Jamaicans are standing tall and proud, even if it was, I mean, everything I saw there, especially on the West Coast, which is an area I went through, was utter and complete destruction. Melissa pretty much destroyed everything. And yet, Jamaicans are there, are standing, and will stand with them, as well as any other community that suffers that type of natural tragic event in that sense. And regarding Rhoda Osman, well, a shout out to Due Process. And even if I think that in the same way that we are upholding high standards for Black and African people and African descendants of slavery, both men and women, Rhoda showed to us that she fell into the white woman tears trap for money. Well, now just gotta pay them back. Everything has consequences, but at the same time, we cannot use this as an example to standardize when real events happen. This is why it's always important that in doubt, we must always provide a certain venue for the victims or the alleged victims to take this to the courts. And if eventually, like in the case of Rhoda Osman happens, that it wasn't a victim but a liar, let them pay the consequences. But let us not have the just pay for the sinners, and that will be all.
Appreciate that. So let me hear from Jose next. Jose, what would you like to shout out this week?
Well, it may sound strange because there was some in this episode, But I want to shout out to everybody in this panel, especially you, of course, for creating this opportunity. But why a shout out for this show? The fire, everybody was in it, like, yeah, you know. But let us try to just throw the data into the basket, right? We have a basket here, and it's called Shoot the Breeze, and we throw our data into the basket, right? And not in particularly to I can add to the basket, and I don't need to take out of the basket, right? My brother or my sister put something in the basket, I don't need to take it out, right? So let's not when it gets hot, we get emotional, and let's try to watch ourselves, and in service of what Koku initiated, right? So let's not get too personal and too emotional. We're here together, right? We're here for each other. I'm here to serve you from the Cape Verdean 54 years in the Netherlands, in the multicultural Netherlands, and I got some info. I got info. Is anybody curious? Or I don't need to be pushed into the Netherlands. I'm here with black people. So let's try to keep the stuff in the basket. And one example I'll give an example. The First World War started with the murder of this prince or whatever. That's not completely true. So I threw in the comments. I could also uh, uh, said it in the panel, but I was like, no, that was not the moment to go. Maybe at that moment, someone could take it as going against him. So I put it in the comment. But it's also a piece of data that I put in the Shoot the Breeze basket. And Shoot the Breeze is online, so the whole world can reach it, right? And the whole world is watching us when we are together here in this show. People are watching us. Please be conscious that the whole world is watching us. Okay, the views at this point is what the views are in this point, but potentially the whole world is watching us. And we get together and we argue and we get personal. Please try to avoid it. So shout out to Kofi. I don't know either everybody's name. Shout out to everybody in the panel, and of course, Coco.
Yeah, that was a really good. That was a really good shout out as well, man. Shout out to Joe. So yeah, when it comes to these conversations, man, the petty kind of like talking over each other and interrupting, and also to, I gotta say it, the filibustering, man, the long remarks. You got to be self aware, is what I'll say. Be self aware that maybe I should cut this down, or maybe I shouldn't talk over someone else. You know what I mean? Maybe we've been talking about this one topic for an hour and a half, going on 2 hours. Maybe we should, maybe the conversation needs a refresh. Let's move to another topic. You know what I'm saying? That's, I mean, and I try to control it. Sometimes I allow the conversation, because even though it might be off course, it's a good convo. So I allow it for a little bit. But sometimes we got to recognize that we're on a topic. Let's get back to the topic. Let's not be too extra. But thank you for that shout out, Joe said. Last but not least, Bonnie, you've heard everyone else's shout out, including mine, I guess. And the chat. What say you? Why do we can't hear you if you're talking?
How about now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, I'll do it this way. So Real Black Gentleman mentioned the rap battle between No Limit and Cash Money. You know, Mia X back in the day, she was one of my favorite artists. So, you know, shout out to hip hop battles and the culture of Black America. You know, I think that sometimes is overlooked. It's a beautiful culture. The riffing and the running the dozens. We have the dozens in the Bahamas too, by the way. But I appreciate the culture. The culture is a beautiful culture, and don't let no one tell you all different. You know, and just because you recognize the beauty is something that doesn't take away from my culture. It doesn't take away from our style and whatever. Every Black man is a star. Every Black man is a star. So shout out to the Black American brothers and sisters who have their own style and have their own thing and do their own thing and celebrate it. So I agree with Real Black Gentleman in his statements. The second thing I wanted to say is shout out to Brother Bakari. Brother Bakari said something that you don't hear often on the show. Brother Bakari said, "My bad, I was wrong. I'm sorry." And as Black men, we must be able to be forceful and assured and all these other things, but we also have to recognize that we are not always perfect. We could always reflect and correct the things that we feel that we get wrong. And we ain't never too big to say I'm sorry. That takes a real man to do those kinds of things. So I respect him big time for that. And I respect all my brothers. Shout out to Sonia Massey. Sonia Massey, I think that she was unalived by that police officer just because she say, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. The man shot her in the head, in the face. So she got some level of justice in terms of that guy, that savage going to prison. You know, I would really rather something else happening to him, but you know, we get where we could get, you know. So for right now, shout out to the memory of Sonia Massey, you know, and shout out to Justice. You know, she deserved to have that. So shout out to her. Shout out to my Jamaican massive, another group of people, Black folks who have a beautiful culture, you know, and sometimes that's ignored and not respected. So shout out to my Jamaican massive for going through what they're going through right now. I've been through several Category 4 hurricanes, and I know what that's like. So, you know, hold your head up, stand tall, do what you can to make your situation better and alleviate your situation. So shout out to Jamaica, my Jamaican massive. And to end it off, shout out to all the brothers and sisters on the panel who came and contributed. Shirley, you know, I'm only kidding with you, man. You know, I'm kidding with you. But shout out to all the brothers and sisters who made great contributions. Sometimes our conversations could be contentious, but at least we could get over it. But as I would second Koku thoughts with the brothers, sometimes be mindful because sometimes you want to get to other discussions and we can't get bogged down with one discussion for an hour and 2 hours and 3 hours. Because I spend time looking up prompts to put up. You know, sometimes they want to see these things. So be mindful of the time. You can express things and you don't have to take an hour to do it. You know, so you can express and don't cut each other off. The brothers them did a good job of it for the most part at the beginning, but that fell apart. Remember, all of us are brothers in the room. You know, don't take it personal. You know, don't take it like you're being attacked. The brothers who are attacking other people, you gotta stop that. We are not your enemy. You know, we come up here every Saturday night and we spend 3 hours together. That's enough to say something. We actively engage in and want to talk to one another. So we are not enemies with one another. So we shouldn't engage in these back and forth and contentious and recriminations and pointing the finger and name calling. I think that we're bigger than that as Black men, and we could do better. So, you know, try with practice impulse control from time to time. Yeah, I know it on the tip of your tongue. I don't want to cuss someone out, but hold that. You know, for the betterment of the show, and for the people who actively listen and they want to hear a good discussion and they want to hear some good information that we have. So, stall off your little temperamental emotions for the betterment of the listeners. Always consider the listeners. Okay? But I'll leave it there. Koku, I appreciate you, brother. Shout out to the panel, and I'll just leave it there, bro.
I appreciate all you who participated tonight on the panel. Let's be better going forward, though. Shout out to all of you on the panel. Shout out to all of you in the chat as well. And all of you who will be listening to the playback. Make sure to join the Discord if you haven't already. Like I said, link is in the description. We will be back next week. Until then, you guys be good, man. Stay African. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine. Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.